What's up? How are you, sir?
Got caught in traffic out there.
Yes, sir. It looks like an Ava is on her way, so I'm going to give it a few more minutes before we call the meeting to order, if that's okay. Everybody good with that?
Sure.
I didn't think it was 5:30.
You're like, no, no, no. Okay, cool.
All right, boys and girls, we ready?
Yeah.
Are we ready?
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna call this meeting to order. This is the special call board meeting. We've got one item on our agenda, so I'm gonna let Mr. Moore go ahead and call the roll.
Carl Smith. Here. Daniel Gray.
He's here.
Ava Coleman.
Here.
Jim Moore here. Ron McDaniel.
Present.
Dina Tony's absent. Lauren Martin.
Here.
Sorry. Laura Walker.
Here.
We'll have to separate you two. So
So we got everybody except Miss
Everybody's-
Dina. Miss Dina is in the Dominican Republic on her honeymoon. So she is living her best life. So
we hope.
Dina, we wish you were here. Not really,
Or
but
we wish we were there.
we wish we were with you.
There.
Okay, so we have one item on our agenda this evening. It is the revised district-wide mask proposal. Dr. O, I'll let you brief it.
All right, good evening, board members. Have a PowerPoint to just go over it. In light of the current trend data for Jacksonville North Pulaski School District, COVID-19 positive cases, as well as our quarantine numbers, and the availability of vaccinations for all scholars. Now, the district proposes a revision to our current district-wide mask requirements. And we feel like it's still important that we keep a mask protocol for the district, but since we're in green, we would like to have some flexibility to move towards a stoplight system. Other districts around Arkansas and around the country have used this system, and so we met with the website vendor so that we're able to actually do banners on the website and all social media to inform if this is approved, to notify our staff members as well as parents and scholars where we are. And the 3 levels are before you. Red will indicate that masks are required and of course strongly encouraged at extracurricular events and outside sporting activities. Yellow would mean that masks are strongly encouraged during the school day, on school buses, and at extracurricular events. And then green means that they are optional for staff and scholars. Right now, currently, you can see that we are in the green. We are right here, Pulaski County, which means there's 0 to 9. ACHI actually sent out a notification last week notifying that all districts in the state of Arkansas are now in the green and are currently not in a severe positive case mode or level. So just wanted to share with you the additional you don't have this is just on my PowerPoint. Precautionary measures and proactive measures that we have. We will continue to operate the sanitizing stations, temperature scanners in all entrances. Masks will still be available for all staff members and scholars. In fact, we placed an order for masks, so if guardians would still like their scholars to wear masks, those will be available at the schools, and staff members will also continue to have those at their use as well. Vaccination clinics have been scheduled. We will host our first 5 to 11 years of age scholar vaccination this Friday at Lester Elementary, but it's open to all scholars across the district, as well as staff members who may have scholars in that age range outside of the district can also bring their scholars.
What time is it?
It's from 4:30 p.m. until 7 p.m. And if you all would like to vote, volunteer, you can. Some of you have already said that. We also have shields and air purifiers. Such as this one back here, the air purifiers were provided to all of our CBI classes, as well as office areas and other locations. What are some of the other gyms? We have a larger unit for gyms. Anywhere we felt that the mask would not be able to be worn at all times, i.e. with our scholars with handicapping or severe medical needs, they were not able to keep their mask on. So we placed the air purifiers in those classes. And then, of course, in the gym, when our scholar athletes are playing, they do not play in a mask. And so we purchased the larger units. And we're also looking to purchase more for the nursing offices. So physical distancing is also strongly suggested. We will continue to stress hand washing and respiratory etiquette. If someone sneezes, cough, the appropriate reactions, and then cleaning and maintaining healthy facilities. Our custodial staff will continue to follow those procedures, as well as we will continue to do contact tracing in combination with isolation and quarantine. So I want to share those measures that we will continue to have in place as we progress through the school year. This is a copy of the flyer that has been placed. We partner with the Arkansas Department of Health, but other entities as well, as we have individuals from UAMS coming, doctors and nurses. So we definitely have strong partnerships with this COVID vaccination clinic. So the recommendations that we approve the proposed mask mandate protocol.
Thank you, sir. So we've got a recommendation from Dr. Owa. Is there any questions or discussion, thoughts? I'll open it up. Anybody?
So the red light, green light, yellow light, is that going to pertain district-wide, or would it be even like school-specific almost? Like, so say Lester, we have several cases that we're quarantining several students on, but all the other schools are fine, but maybe.
That's a great question. We didn't, Mrs. Martin, we didn't think about that, but that definitely makes sense to do that at the school level.
Because I know we've had some at our specific school, but I don't want to punish other schools when that's not the case. If that's.
But if the system is tied to a
questionable
Department of Health
right.
Yeah.
system, I would think it would be district-wide. And if we've got one school that's having problems, then that's going to affect the numbers anyway, which would probably raise it for the whole district anyway. If
We're
it's,
still
if it's
going
an
to have
issue.
our person that's keeping track of that.
Yeah, Mrs. Stennett will continue to be our point of
So
contact.
she'll have that information.
A question about what you call it? I just drew a blank. The quarantine. That's the word. So if a person previously had a mask on, they had to be quarantined if they were wearing their masks, or if a person has been vaccinated, they don't have to quarantine. Is there, if a student at the high school, somebody has it, and then they don't have a mask, if another student shows that I've been quarantined, would they have to quarantine? Or
Yes. So
if they've been vaccinated, they wouldn't have to quarantine.
Yeah. So the current process or quarantine process is that it requires the individual to be wearing a mask. That those different stages, and so if God forbid, if you were positive and had a mask and I had a mask, then that's one stage, and then we both. But if I didn't have a mask on, if you didn't have a mask, then one of us. Well, you
Even
would
if
have
you've
to
been
be.
quarantined, even if you've been vaccinated.
Mhm.
That's not how I've interpreted or heard from the CDC guidelines. Is if you've been vaccinated and you come in close contact, unless you're showing symptoms, you don't need to quarantine.
Right, and I'll look at that again, but I think that's different from K-12.
Okay.
K-12 and from the recommendation for K-12 schools from the Arkansas Department of Health.
Gotcha.
But
I wanted to add one thing to your question over there. We do have bus routes that have different students, scholars on the same bus. So I believe if we did it, it would have to be school district-wide because they share routes and they share bus stops, things like that. So that'd be the only place.
The buses don't get disinfected in between each junior or middle school.
No, but they are required for a mask to be on. At all times.
Now,
We
but
have
if we took
masks.
this off, they're not going to be desanitized or sanitized between rounds.
We can put that on there. I mean, that's just up to.
That's like, you need like a sprayer for that.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like Legion. We had to spray the dugouts every day. It was
Um,
stop.
So are we basing the traffic light protocol based on the state levels, or if it's something like our own, if we're starting to see our own numbers? I know, but if we see our own numbers or within the schools are climbing, then I think we need to make that call internally to change it.
Yeah, right now, and unless you all, depending on the motion and the approved motion, right now we were basing, I believe they would still give us the Jacksonville, the community numbers, but they won't drill down to the district level if the numbers continue to stay low.
Is that like a weekly update? Is it updated
Yes.
weekly?
Weekly, yes.
Is it possible for us to put some type of statement in there, just if something happens in our district? Because it may be, just like the schools and not necessarily all of Jacksonville. Is it possible for us to put a statement that we can have another meeting to change it, or should we?
We can always have a meeting to change anything we want at any time, as long as we want to do that. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think my concern is too, is like, okay, the state numbers, Jacksonville numbers are good, so to speak, but we've trickled down in our schools and we have a lot of kids out and a lot of kids quarantined. So maybe we need to kind of be on like a red light for 2 weeks, and especially, I'm gonna be honest, I'm pro getting rid of the mask, but we're also going into the holidays and everybody's
That's
getting
what I was gonna bring
together.
up.
People
Yeah.
are coming from out of town, and so like, it's just a sticky,
Cold weather.
yeah, and
You have to
so.
think about
Well, I
this
think-
also, the weather is starting to change, and they say that COVID, the Delta variant and the new one increases during cold weather. So this kind of things we have to stay on top of. And that was a national from the CDC about the cold weather.
And I know we're having this vaccination clinic this Friday. I'm super excited about that. Do we have anything in place, like incentives to encourage students to get vaccinated? Like, could we do anything to help encourage it? Classrooms, school-wide, like make a competition or anything? Or do you-
We haven't discussed the competition. To be honest, the only district that we've heard that has tried to do some type of student level incentive was Little Rock, and that was stalled or put on pause. And so we don't know if that's preventable. So right now, there's not an incentive for
Mhm.
students, just that the incentive is that if we can keep our numbers low, we don't have to have a district-wide mask mandate.
We may want to do like a little clip or something to show them, like, hey, you get vaccinated, you don't have to worry about it, just something for,
Can we put you down to star in that clip?
I'm available. What? I'm check my schedule, but I'm probably available.
Well, anything else?
So are we still, in case something like this happens, and I hope it doesn't, we still are up to date on virtual training and so forth? We're going to stay on top of that.
Yes, sir. The curriculum team continue to provide that support for our teaching staff, and so we're good. In fact, we just revised our digital learning plan and got it reapproved from Arkansas Department of Ed last week. So,
Good.
yes, sir.
Let me ask, how many, what's the percentage of the staff that have been vaccinated? Last time we talked about it was 60%. Is that increased, or is it still stagnant at 60?
We've gotten, it's actually increased because each month, I can pull it up. Well, no, because it has names, but we've had a significant increase. I can get the percentage to you.
I was just curious.
But we've had, since you all approved
The incentive,
the incentive, we had over 300 that first month. And I believe, and that was in August. September, we had, I think roughly if I recall, 64. And then last month, it's about 30. So, and we have about 549 staff members. And so that's
75%.
And a few trickled in last week.
Oh, yeah, and Erica brought me some forms last week. So,
So we're still encouraging them, the staff.
yes, sir. So,
With
and
that
They
the
incentive.
still get their bonus.
the incentive goes through the school year. So if someone got their vaccination, full vaccination in February, or even in March or May, they would still get the incentive.
Great.
And we bring that at all the orientations that we do right now weekly for new employees, that it's an incentive out there if they provide the documentation for their vaccine.
Excuse me. Sorry.
So, something just came up in my mind here. How about during basketball games, are we still gonna require those visitors that are, those people that are coming in to parents and so forth to wear a mask?
Well, this will lift that requirement.
As long as we're green.
Yes, sir, as long as we're green. And as I stated earlier, that's one of the reasons we were trying to be proactive in the beginning in our athletic facilities by purchasing the large. So there's 2 large air purifiers in the middle school gym and high school gym because of the fact that we knew that most of the participants, most of the scholars would not have their mask on because they were participating. But and in the other team opponents, but also it would benefit because it purifies the entire building. So our guests will also benefit from that.
The, last year when we had an incident at a school or something, the parents or the classrooms were notified, all calls went out to the school, is that correct?
Yes.
And that's still happening if there's a student with a positive
Oh,
case or
yeah,
a
I get
teacher.
lots of calls.
So I think, so back to your point about school specific, I think those calls are still gonna go out
Yeah.
and masks are always gonna be recommended. So it's up to the parents still have a choice and the numbers are gonna be reflected in the,
Maybe we can add to the all call that, 10 students have been quarantined at such and such, we encourage you to consider wearing your mask during the next week or, whatever. It'd just be something we add onto that all call.
to avoid quarantine. That's shut us down from work.
Whatever, my kids get quarantined all the time.
Mine haven't like this whole year. Thank God.
I'm like, quit picking on me.
So is there any change in the quarantine policy, masks, no masks? 'Cause
Yes, sir. So if they don't have if they have a mask on, they don't have to quarantine. If they do, if they don't have a mask on, they would have to quarantine.
So any contact tracing. So if student A goes to school, tests positive, nobody has masks, every student
If they
got
came
contact
within
with us
3 feet
quarantined?
Yeah,
of,
the physical
it would
distance
still
is
be,
3 feet.
yeah. And then we had that policy last year, even when they had masks.
You don't frag out like half your school when that happens? I don't understand.
It-
I just. I
Like a
don't see
middle
that.
school, high school where they're changing classes and stuff, yeah.
like how to-
Yeah, and then it's for the amount of minutes. I believe we're still at 15 minutes.
They have to be within
So-
close contact for 15 minutes.
Yes.
So when they're changing classes, they're not in there for cumulatively, unless they're with the same person every time they change classes. And I think we've got the video surveillance in
Yeah.
pretty much every school to be able to.
Yeah,
the middle and
We've
high school
added
level.
additional cameras just
But-
for that.
I support the policy change. I think it gives some freedom and some flexibility to us, and it does allow those that have been complying to not have to wear a mask as their choice. And I think if things escalate and we start seeing an outbreak or whatever, then we have the policy in place to go. It'll go red light and masks will be required again. It takes the decision off of us and ties it to science or to the numbers. And I just think it serves both the ones that want to wear masks and the ones that don't want to wear masks. And I think the quarantine issue, again, that's a parent choice. And if they don't want their kid to get quarantined, they need to make their kid wear a mask. That's up to them.
There's no risk. Do teachers have a union?
No, sir. But our teachers and again, the social distancing applies to 15-minute contact tracing. And again, I think the point that everybody has an option to get the vaccine now, it's a choice that they can make or not make. I think that helps me be okay with. I think we're still taking student safety to.
And we're gonna have a
Highest priority.
December board meeting, so we can get the numbers from Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and as things change, we're always 24 hours away from a call meeting, and
Exactly.
we can meet back, and if we got to change and we can do it. I think we're all flexible enough to agree to that.
And just to clarify, about the fully vaccinated, if the scholar or staff member is fully vaccinated but have symptoms, yes, they have to be quarantined and isolated. So that's the only time, so.
So if a student can show that they've been vaccinated and they have no symptoms, they do not have to
No need
quarantine.
to quarantine unless symptoms develop.
So I mean, if they're not sick and they just were around somebody and they can prove that they were quarantined, you as a parent could say, my kid's been vaccinated, he doesn't have to quarantine or she doesn't have to quarantine. If they haven't been vaccinated, then you would have to quarantine.
Yeah.
Another incentive to get vaxxed, and if it's their choice not to vax, then they get to quarantine.
Right.
So I think that's the best benefit for everybody. Any other discussion, questions? If not, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
A motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation. Do I hear a second?
Second.
I hear a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. That is the only thing on our agenda this evening besides Ron McDaniel.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
We are adjourned.
Oh, my.
Have a great night.
That's his favorite job.
That's
We've
right.
been doing it for 16 years.
Yeah. In other